Hey, what's up, Keith? Thanks again for joining and jumping on, man. It looks like we're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all over the place. So excited to do this.
Dude, heck yeah. Thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were joking about this before, but your background is phenomenal.
That's so crazy. It's like we got the plants and like everything,
plants and
floating
everything.
shelves. Yeah, that's awesome.
Neon sign, all that stuff. So we couldn't have planned it better. But I'll have to pass that note along to Elise that we did a good job here. But awesome, man. Well, welcome. Everybody jump in the comments. Let's see. If you're not 10 minutes early or late, they're not 10 early. I love it. Yeah, I know we these live streams, we try to jump on around 3 or so. I appreciate you waiting around for us. That's awesome. Thanks, Kip. If you jump in the comments, say, hey, where you're calling in from, Keith, you've been super gracious with your time. I appreciate you jumping on with us and being able to share your knowledge with our group too, man. But you said you were hanging out with Trevor and David and everybody at Carrot Camp, right, recently?
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. That was the first time I met David in person, but he's super cool. He just had a birthday. Happy birthday, David.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Both of them are wicked smart, and I could see why they're really good friends.
Yeah, hoping to make it out next time with you guys. And obviously, David I've known since middle school. I've known him forever. Trevor, I've had him on quite a few times and had him on our YouTube channel and stuff. And it really, every time we have him on, he's phenomenal. He's actually, for our elite members only, we're doing a private call tomorrow where he's coming on and talking about a variety of different things when it comes to online marketing. So, there we go. We've got Florida, St. Pete, Florida. We got Fargo, North Dakota. Awesome. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Again, throughout this whole thing too, feel free to ask questions. I know I've got a ton of questions to pick Keith's brain, and he's going to talk about his background and kind of more about his journey as an investor too. But I want to make sure this is open Q&A and open conversation for everybody on here. So if you have any questions, it could be, we've got, I know, a variety of people on, typically, anything from newbies to people that are really trying to scale. And Keith has been through it all too. So no questions or bad questions, just jump in and I'll make sure to facilitate and ask away too. So,
especially on the market side, I don't think I'm going to know what to do right. And if I could help you guys, skip some of my trials and tribulations, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know we've, have heard many things around, Trevor's talked about you jumping in with Carrot members and things like that, just helping educate them. So I know you're an open book and I'll always give kind of, phenomenal knowledge and lessons learned, like you said, so that way you can save some hassle and do the right things. So
exactly.
So kind of jumping in, I know in general, obviously you're a real estate investor, you're an online marketing expert, with really a lead gen machine, in terms of how you're doing deals, which are you, in terms of number of deals, like volume at this point, what are you kind of looking at in terms of what you're seeing come your way currently?
I mean, for me, I'm like in the peak months, it's like 10 deals a month. Yeah. And in the low months, it's between like 3 and 5. But I literally get like a $450 a month marketing budget.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. Yeah.
And super low on time. Like that's how I'm able to, be hanging out with people like you, go to every Carrot Camp so.
Love that. So I think today, anything around lead generation, online marketing, using that with DealMachine together, like all those questions are going to be super relevant. And I think there's a lot of people listening who want to build what you've built yourself there. So can you maybe talk a little bit there around your background, how you started that real estate investing journey, your first deal, kind of give people a little more context about you?
Man, yeah. So like my background, I actually started investing with my buddy in South Texas from my house up here in Tacoma. He was the boots on the ground. He did all the negotiating and I did everything I could from the computer, which gave me like a whole year to really kind of dive in on everything, marketing, anything. And so I got really good at that. And then when I branched off, started my own, Kind House brand here in Tacoma, Washington. I was really good on the marketing side. I got my phone ringing really fast. I remember going on the first seller appointment and I'm like, the guy wants 120. I know I need to be at like 90, like I don't know how to negotiate. Like, what do I say? So then I'm like, okay, I can get leads. How do I negotiate with these people? So then it's a whole different journey, right? And so refining that. And that was, I started back in like late 2017. So it's about 5 years or so.
Nice. And then what markets are you investing in, you said too?
So I'm in Texas, like Central and South Texas. I'm also in Washington. And then I generate a lot of other leads all over the place. Then I just JV them with my friends. So I basically, my business model now is literally get leads, send them to my friends. They negotiate, they close the deals, they write the contracts, they talk to the buyers and the title companies and all that. And I get paid, which is kind of, so I wasn't someone that's like, oh, I'm at 10 deals a month. How do I get it to 20? I didn't care about that. Like I wanted more of my time back. And so I kind of built my business around that.
That's awesome, man. So it's really lifestyle design. What do you, so if you're only spending, X amount of hours per week on the real estate side, what do you spend most of your time doing outside of that?
I started doing some consulting and also some like managed SEO services for a few clients. Because
Nice.
yeah, I like nerding out on marketing and optimization and that kind of stuff more than I like negotiating with buyers and sellers. I got really good at negotiating with buyers and sellers, but it just drains my energy. Like I don't feel,
don't want to feel exhausted at the end of the day. Yeah, that's fair. Nice. So again, throughout this whole conversation, feel free to throw questions in the chat. Always happy to tee people up. I mean, you've set up a truly like a lead gen machine. It sounds like here, where if you're spending only a little bit of time, working the deals, you're JVing with friends, like you've got a exciting setup, man. But what do you think? I know that you kind of transitioned into real estate. It was part-time first, right? Were you doing a full-time job while you got into that, or I love just really kind of going through that whole process. Would love to hear your thoughts and advice for newbies on how to do that first deal, how to transition, and make change in their life like that.
Yeah, so I've always been an entrepreneur. I've only had like 2 jobs in my life and both of them only lasted like 3 months. When I started real estate, I actually owned a screen printing company. So I had some pretty big contracts, but it wasn't my passion. And I jumped into real estate. I was literally like waking up at like 3, knock out all the printing, all my screen printing stuff, get it shipped out by noon. And then for the rest of the day, just real estate. Yeah. So that was kind of, and so I was, juggling both as much as I could. And that was about 9 months before I was like, okay, I feel confident enough. I can, launch my own brand, my own thing, and go from there.
Yeah, that's a grind. I love
it was.
Yeah, I love Krista jumping in. Being good at something doesn't equal liking it necessarily. So, it's like you're like, yeah, there you go. So now Quincy was asking, are most of your deals joint venture at this point? Then it sounds like, or are you doing? Like how are all you, what are all the ways you're funding deals currently?
Yeah, like over 50% of them are like,
okay.
Literally, if it's within like a 30 to 40 minute driving distance from my house, and the lead comes in on my website and they're like, please buy my house from me. Those are the ones I will go on the appointments. I will call. I will, take that to the finish line. If it's like, hey, I'm just fielding offers or seeing what I could get, I just boom, forward it to my friend.
Yep. Yeah.
If it's out of my area.
Gotcha. And in terms of how you were funding deals at first too, like, doing that first deal or doing your first couple, like how did you transition into mostly JV deals, or did you, jump right into that?
So finding or the
funding
like
side. When you first got started, like how did you go about funding those initial deals, and how you got to where you are now, where you're doing mostly JV?
Dude, like so when I first started, I invested in a couple flips. I was pretty good at saving my money, so I had a little bit of money, but a lot of my money was out on like a flip. And so I put bandit signs on a credit card, and I started posting ads on Craigslist. My first deal up here in Washington came from a Craigslist ad. and Craigslist still works. Like a lot of people, they just, you know, they don't do it or don't do it right. Like, and I post in the services section for $5. Most people just go to the free section. No one really posts in the services section. So there's not a lot of competition. You can't get your post flagged. It stays up there for 30 days. And I post every week. It's a $5 a week marketing budget.
Yeah, good ROI.
And I close like 2 to 3 deals a year from it. Nothing like crazy, but it takes a VA 2 minutes to post and $20 a month.
That's nuts. What is that? Do you have to use any specific language on that post at this point, or is it pretty standard?
Just like, you know, free cash offer on your house in 24 hours or less. I have like 2 or 3 different ones. I have one like, hey, you know, we buy houses all over the place and we could buy yours too, you know, like a company. And then another one that's, hey, I just finished up a project. My wife, we're looking for another one. If anyone has a house that needs some love, we'd love to give you an offer on it. So kind of like to the different demographics. Some people want a corporation that feels trustworthy. Some want to do business with a local, you know, local small town. They'd rather sell to a little mom and pop than a corporation. So I try to appeal to both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, like you said, you know, different sellers are motivated by different things. We'll connect with different people. We'll sell even for less if it's the right person they built a real relationship with. Is there, you know, for the newbies who are watching this that are trying to do that first deal, what advice would you give them on, like, is there a good time to get into real estate? It's like, oh, now a good time to get, you know, into the market. Like, how do you kind of think about that or handle that?
The same way I think about most things. A year from now, you'll wish you started today. Like, just do it. Yeah, definitely. Anytime's a good time, right? Like, people, like, especially start building knowledge, start building. Real estate's a relationship business, right? Especially if you're wholesaling, like on your buyer side, right? Like, start building those relationships. You don't want to wait till you get something under contract with 22 days to close and you don't know any buyers. You've never like actually met them, seen them eye to eye. Like, I started building a list really heavily, you know, just scrape, you know, ads on Craigslist, blah, blah, blah. I never really interacted with these people. Then when I send out a property, crickets, like no one's hit me, but like now I could text someone, hey, I got this 3-2, here are the photos, here's the price. And I get a yes or no like that. Like, if you're on my buyers list, you probably haven't seen an email out for like almost like, I don't know, 10 months or something, because I could just sell my properties with a text or a phone call because of the relationships. And I think a lot of people discount the importance of the relationships.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I know, obviously you're wholesaling, you know, you've, you know, buy and held as well. You've done a variety of kind of, you know, exit strategies or, you know, investment strategies here. Is there anything you're adjusting currently with what you're seeing in the market or what you're seeing in your own local markets, or just curious on how you're treating things right now too?
I mean, I've been adjusting for a period like this coming, like for a while. Like I was surprised, you know, the recession should have hit when COVID happened. It was artificially held up, right? So I've been preparing for a while. And a part of that was making sure I wasn't spending 5 to 10 grand per deal, you know, on pay-per-click. And, you know, because that's the thing that I would be the most worried about, is having super high overhead. When, I mean, for a wholesaler or an investor or whatnot, you'll still be able to close deals. There's a lot of people that made a ton of money during the last recession. It's just getting them at good prices and for the least amount of money possible. And then having the solid buyers, if you're wholesaling, to get rid of them.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, people did well last recession. I mean, that, you know, a recession in general can present more problems for the investor to come in and solve, and, you know, have more opportunity, like you said, than even the last decade. So
exactly. So what's to stop them from just going down to the auction and getting a deal, or actually opening up your email and buying a house from Keith? It's the relationship. Yeah. Even if you get 2 houses that are identical and you can buy one in each, you know, different locations, like, the relationship matters.
Yep. Absolutely. Do you have tips on kind of building those relationships and how you go about, you know, finding them, and like kind of what your process is, you know, in general advice on building real true relationships that trust you like that?
be a helper, like just help, offer to help. What could I do? What are you guys struggling with? You know, like
Mhm.
that's literally what I ask everyone. Like, how can I help you in your business? What are your guys' goals for the year? Okay, cool. So if you had this, then that would help that. Yeah, absolutely, Keith. Well, I got some tips on how to do that. Oh man, you would be a lifesaver. Like I actually think, what do they need and how could I help them out? And I genuinely want to help people out. I'm not doing this as like a strategy. I get like a helper's high, but it works. Like it just attracts so much positive energy. And like when all you're thinking about is how can I get someone to pay overpriced prices for a wholesale opportunity that I'm sending them, like you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you said, it comes down to intent, I think, first and
Yeah.
foremost. And you know, the helper's high for sure. I, I can get that too. But if you're genuine about like going in and like you said, I mean, it's even the consulting. I see why you enjoy consulting so much. It's coming in and trying to help and solve problems in their business for them, and, or at least give advice on that. So, you know, having
Yeah.
that kind of giver mentality is huge.
And when I was, and I know probably, especially for some of the newer people, they're like, well, where do I find real buyers, right? Like who's a
Mhm.
wholesaler? Who's going to waste my time? Who can actually close? Blah blah blah. Honestly, one of the best like auction buyers. I love auction buyers. They're conditioned to buy houses sight unseen because when they buy houses at the auctions, they don't get a look at them. They
Mhm.
really bought with cash, and they're local. Like so, you can you so. If, and you could go down to the county courthouse at the auction and just go meet them. Just go shake hands, see what their auction, see what they're bidding on, see what prices they're willing to pay. And then, get on, you could find these auction buyers by going down to the courthouse. Let's say you're virtual. You can also get online, you could filter transactions by deed type. Here, it's like a trustee sale deed or a sheriff sale deed. So I'm looking at those ones. And then I'm in the guys that bought multiple ones,
Mhm.
right? Like between auction buyers and then the other buyers are, people that buy as is off the MLS. They pay ridiculous prices. Like if they bought a cash offer off the MLS and they bought more than two in the last 12 months, yeah, those two people.
Yeah, they've got some
Yeah,
cash flow. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
Between that, that's like the only cash buyers list you need.
That's awesome. You mentioned pay-per-click as well, like just keeping your overhead down. I know Quincy had said, do you drive leads? Do you drive your leads to a website to capture their info, or, can you talk through kind of your lead gen strategy from that perspective and your online presence and all of that? And Quincy, great questions. Thanks for jumping in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a huge fan of online marketing. I got a Carrot website, and they're top notch, the best websites out there for real estate investors. And yeah, almost all of my, not almost all, but like at this point now, like 90% of all my leads are all online leads that are organically found from Google search.
Yep.
So I'm not paying for pay-per-click at the moment. I was, and it was working really well for me for a long time. I was getting leads for like $175 a lead. I was closing like 1 in 12. Well, then 175 went to like 250, and then 275, and then 4, and then $500 a lead. And then I was like, screw this. I'm doubling down on some other stuff.
Yeah. And organic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how, when you say low cost and low time currently, is that really the key to it? Is that you've built up that, that organic, presence, or, how are you kind of achieving that right now, you think?
Yeah, definitely organic presence. I mean, I still do signs. Bandit signs, as far as my paid cost per deal, is like my least expensive paid form of marketing. I average like $1,000 per deal, like spend. And my pay per click, on the other hand, when it got to the height of like $500 a lead, it was like $8,000 per deal.
Yeah.
And let's just say I only get like, $10,000 assignment. Like the ROI on that's not very high.
Right. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
eating away at your margin there pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Nice. Again, feel free to jump in the chat. Quincy, great questions there. If you have any other, specific questions, I mean, especially, sounds like you can speak to, most things newbies are going through, Keith, and kind of sharing your lessons learned, but especially anything online marketing related. I know that's something you consult businesses for, and can talk about all day. Can you maybe talk about how you've used that in tandem with DealMachine before as well? Because I know that's something that you kind of told that story to David and Trevor at Carrot Camp, and have heard that a little bit. Can you maybe talk about how those work together, and how you're using DealMachine in your strategy with everything else you're doing?
Yeah, so I love DealMachine. Like, you can't get a better list. You can't buy a list for crap, turd houses near you. Like, you have to physically go out there, and most people won't physically do the work. So I love that. But I'll take that list. You mail it, call, text, all of that. But I also will take that list. I'll upload it into Facebook, and you can actually take that skip trace list that you've already cold called. Maybe you didn't get the right phone number, right? But if you got their email or even the name and their location, you could target them on Facebook and have your driving for dollars. So now you're hitting them with the postcard, the phone call, and now Facebook. And sometimes it's like, maybe they do want to sell, but they are, and like with marketing, sometimes it takes a few times, a few touches. Like, you need to be like, they need to see your logo, your name a few times before they actually, in their mind, validate that you're like a respectable, real local company. Yep. And so sometimes just getting them with that last Facebook message is all it takes to be like, okay, he's in a video shaking hands with a real seller. The seller is saying that they pay high prices, not this guy. The seller says, I got 3 offers, but Kind House Buyers was the highest. I'm not saying that. Someone else is vouching for me. And so doing that, like, I've had killer results. That was the best, the highest assignment I've done was from a driving for dollars DealMachine. And I negotiated with the guy a little bit, and he was like, you know what, Keith, you and the other 2 guys, because there was 2 other people, all were within like $2,500 of purchase price. And I was like, well, I got a little bit of wiggle room. And then he's like, yeah, but at that price, it's just still too low. I'm going to let my son live here. And then he moved off to Louisiana, and his son was a heroin addict with a warrant. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this isn't going to last long. This is the follow-up game all day long. Yeah, no, that's cool. I wish I had a dad like that. My dad didn't even buy me my first car. So the fact that, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I went to go call him a few months later to follow up, see how he was doing. And I only had his home phone number. So when he moved to Louisiana, I couldn't get a hold of him. Well, he ended up seeing one of my Facebook ads from me uploading the list from Driving for Dollar or DealMachine into. So then he puts his info in on Facebook. That's how I got a hold of him. And then when he flew back, it was actually on my birthday. It was in February 9th. He came back. We met at the property again. I was at the price appreciated a lot over like that year, but I gave him $2,000 more, and I ended up, it was like a $90,000 assignment, and
wow,
I was pretty pumped.
That's nuts, man. Can you break that down for people? I know you mentioned you're retargeting those leads on Facebook, that you drove for dollars with. Can you walk through the specific playbook on how to do that? Because I think that's something that it's super underutilized in terms of how to run with those driving for dollars leads.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can
there we go. Perfect.
So, yeah. So you want to take your spreadsheet, right? So you take the list, right? You export it, and you need it needs to be skip traced. It doesn't have to be super high quality skip trace. So I've used like Mojo Dialer skip tracing. It's like $99 a month for unlimited skip tracing. And so you can buy any list, like 100,000. And so I skip trace through Mojo Dialer for like, nothing. And then I take that list and I'll put it into Facebook. You need a business account, and then you start creating an ad and create an audience in that ad. And then you create a custom audience by uploading the spreadsheet with, the reason why you need to skip trace it is because they will connect the person better with the phone and the email. Mm-hmm. Even if they're wrong, it'll have a way better chance of selecting them.
Yeah, that's what we've got. We have one-off skip tracing inside DealMachine, and you can do. I mean, I would say if you're going for a huge quantity, then that could be a good route to go the Mojo way. The DealMachine side, we pay for that premium data, so that way, like you said, it's it's got like caller ID, do not call list, disconnected, landline versus mobile, all that stuff. So it's a little bit more of a premium skip. But
yeah, I would never cold call the Mojo dialer list. This is strictly for this purpose, like just getting, enough data to be able to upload a list for like
on Facebook.
pennies.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And awesome. I've done that too. When Facebook changed, like a couple years ago, they changed targeting. So you couldn't target based on different things like age or demographic or zip code anymore. It had to be like a 15-mile radius. And so I only wanted homeowners. And I only wanted homeowners in certain zip codes. So I got the list off the county and I excluded all the zip codes in the cities I didn't want. I skip traced it with Mojo really fast. And then I threw that in there. Now my Facebook ad was only getting targeted to homeowners, not 18-year-olds that don't have a house, and, in the zip codes I wanted.
Yeah, that's huge. And combining that, so one thing we've heard, so we've had on like Christina Kraus before. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's an expert within like the sales pipeline, investing sales space. And she'll talk about stats around like, hey, if you only have one touch point with somebody, you still have an 80 or you only have a 15% chance of getting that deal. If you have 3 touch points, you still only have a 50% chance. Like the more, like you said, the more touch points you have and the variety, the mix of touch points you have, you're putting yourself in a better and better and better position to succeed. And especially if you're able to do Facebook mixed with, the calls, mixed with text, email, postcards through DealMachine, like all these variety of things, you're giving yourself more and more and more odds to be able to be the one that they call back. And like you said, especially if they're moving around, or if you need to have that long-term touch point with them and just kind of do things like run Facebook ads or do things like send postcards to them that are more set it and forget it and doesn't take you, just dialing all day. Like those two, that strategy overall is what we see most successful with DealMachine members. So
yeah,
love it. Awesome, man. Well, again, Quincy, thanks for asking great questions. Jump in. Feel free to ask any questions anybody here. Really anything real estate related, I think you'd have a good perspective on, but especially if it comes to marketing, lead generation, online marketing, combined with DealMachine, all of that, feel free to jump in and ask questions here. One thing that I thought you touched on it a couple times, and you said you don't love to do it, but negotiating, for someone who doesn't love to do it, what's kind of how did you go about doing? I know now it sounds like you team up with other people that can do that for you, but especially your early on deals, it sounded like you were more involved in that. So do you have any advice there on, how to improve your skills when it comes to negotiating and all of that?
I mean, everyone's going to have a different style, right? There's some people that just are super bold and blunt and, and still going to do that, used car kind of like go for the close kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's not me. I'm always just there to help. Like that's like, like if it would help, I could buy this place for you. Like, but this is kind of like, I don't know, what would you say if I offered you this? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't say that, hey, the best I could do here is 175.
And then just hold the line.
I would never say that crap. Because then they're like, okay, yeah, that doesn't work. And now you just said that was the best you could do. So now if you try to go up, you're a liar. And they smell that on you really fast. So when I, something like, what would you say if I offered you this? I'm not saying I could offer you this like that. Just, these little word hooks all over the place. I've incorporated like a lot of little ones that really just help me. Kind of like I'm always there to help.
Those are, and like you said, I think the intent, if you have that mindset and intent going into it, then you're already subconsciously going to have more and more word hooks, more and more like right wording that shows you're on the same side as them. But for sure, a lot of it does come with getting reps in, and the more conversations you have, the better you get at it. But
I know, especially in a competitive market, right? You're going to get a couple different, sometimes you're not the only one there. And so I've seen a lot of these other wholesalers or investors, like they try to bash the other person or just come out with a ridiculously high price to get it locked up and they know they're going to price drop them later. I don't think that's ethical. I don't like that stuff. I'm not going to I'm not going to stress myself out getting something locked up at such razor thin margins that I don't think that it could. So like when someone's like, hey, Keith, I'm fielding other offers. I appreciate you coming. I'm like, oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's so cool. You have no idea. Like, that's super smart of you. You have no idea how many sellers I talk to. And like, I'm the only one they're calling. Like what? Like, you know, a lot of times I could pay higher because of X, Y, and Z, but sometimes I can't. And, you know, I'm here to buy a house, but really I just want to help you guys out at the end of the day. Like, I have other projects, you know, if it would help, I could buy it. But hey, when you're looking at these other offers, you know, just to make sure, right, that they're a legitimate company, because there are these people that are like, you know, they go to a 2-day seminar at the Hilton and all of a sudden they're real estate investors. Just to make sure they're real and they could actually close, you know, you look at these few things, right? Like earnest money, they should at least be putting $5,000 down, and make sure it's non-refundable. You know, like otherwise they don't have any skin in the game. You know, I guess there's this thing like wholesaling where they're like gonna assign or sell your deal to someone else. Make sure it doesn't say like and or assigns or anything in there. You know, like or you know, other things, and make sure they're never going to back out on you. Like no contingencies at all, like subject to funding partners approval or an inspection period. Like I'm here, this was my inspection. You see, I got put 0-day inspection period. And so obviously that cuts out some of the other wholesalers. Like, but you know, you could come up with your own lines that are going to help you set yourself apart, like that are, you know, whether. And even if
yeah. And I mean, it shows you're the expert first and foremost, like you're educating them and giving them value that way. And then outside of that, you're able to come in and like really, you know, be kind of a source of truth for them. Like, so they might go back to you and like rely on you. And even, you know, we hear stories of people who they'll go through a similar exercise, like help out somebody like that way. They'll come back to them, even though they have a better offer, they just don't trust somebody else that they're going with, and they'll come back to you and do it regardless of, you know, it being more money or, you know, more money for you. But
I got one kind of, it wasn't recently, it was back in December, but the lady got an offer $50,000 higher than mine. But she's like, yeah, Keith, I was listening. They're only putting up 1% in earnest money, and they put a 10-day inspection period in there. And although I'd love 50 grand more, like I think you're the guy that could actually get this done. And then like 2 months, and then in March, another one, it was 25 grand higher or lower. Like someone paid higher. Cool. Wow. If they could really pay that, like, and they could close, congratulations, take that. But, you know, make sure, go back to that contract that you already got, or the one that they're going to submit or whatever, and just look at these things, make sure that they're real and that they're not going to be, you know, stringing you around and waste time. And so those are two kind of in the last 6 months that I got for, you know, $125,000. I did not increase my offer whatsoever. I said, congratulations, you're a smart shopper. Like, here's some tips as you go out there into the world and make sure, like, I'm not like, oh, but you should take my offer because, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I love your approach to, like I said, to helping people out.
Yeah.
Quincy, really quick, you said what was the carrot site? Is just carrot.com. I believe if you do, I'll throw a link in here. I know we have a Carrot link as well that gives you guys better deals through Carrot if they come through us. So I'll post that here for everybody too. Yeah, it's just this go.carrot.com/DealMachine. So they'll make sure they treat you well if you go through that as well. I know Quincy said, do you use a script as well? So yeah, what are some, do you use a script, and like what are examples of good discovery questions that you ask the seller when you're trying to figure out their problem and figure out how you can help them?
So I don't really use a script. I think I focused on that a lot, and I was only thinking about me and what I was going to say, and I wasn't thinking about them. And that kind of really slowed down my growth when I realized that all I have to do are these little tiny word hooks. Like mirroring is so powerful. Like, just like when they say I need 250,000 for my house, and you're like, you need 250? And then they expand on that. Yeah, like my mortgage is 175 and I need 75 as a down payment and to move to the next place. Oh, okay. So now I'm thinking what they really need is they need 75K, right? And so maybe there's a creative option, maybe there's other things, but I would have never did that if I didn't, like, literally mirroring is super powerful. I use it all the time. Or,
Yeah.
some of the stuff I've learned from other people, I mean, like some of that last thing, like that was a Steve Train thing. Like he called it like scorched earth. And I like picked that whole thing and I ran with it, and it has worked so good. I told him how good it's worked. Like John Martinez, like I followed a lot of his videos and stuff in the beginning. And also Never Split the Difference. Like
I was just putting in there.
That book has just been amazing.
Yeah, that's the book. I was typing that through. That's the best book I've ever read on negotiating. And they go into a whole thing on mirroring and tone and being able to, a lot of the nonverbals and all of that. So I would in terms of negotiation, highly recommend that one.
Yeah, proximity. That goes into like all the touches, right? When they get 3 different touches from different spots, that is a form of proximity. They feel close to you. They feel
Yep, absolutely. So that's great. Let's see. So hopefully, Quincy, that gives you some answers there. I was going to ask, I know you said you team up and JV with friends, and it sounds like they're negotiating a lot of the times now. Can you maybe talk through that process of how you scaled, how you got to that point, how you set up those relationships with friends, even like what the split looks like on that, like all the details around that, I think would be really interesting.
Yeah. So obviously with my method, like what I do, you gotta be working with people you trust and you like, right? That's why I keep going back to Carrot Camp. I meet new people at Carrot Camp every year, every 6 months, 15 new people from different markets that, I build relationships with. I send them leads. So like on a real nitty gritty, like if any lead comes in, I'll look at it really fast. If it's listed, I just don't even call them. If it's, if it's a wholesaler, don't even call them. But if it's a good looking deal and it's close by, I call them. Or if it's a good looking deal and it's anywhere in any of these markets, I'll literally just take a screenshot and text it to my friend. Or and I do that, and then I send the screenshot and send it over to my VA. They upload it, and they already know who is responsible for that. And we just put in a little drip to follow up with them. But most of the people I deal with now, like I kind of set the standard, like, let me know what happened with every deal. Like whether it's, you didn't talk to them, you couldn't get a hold of them, or you're been negotiating for the last, like just keep me in the loop. If you don't, I'm going to stop sending you leads, because either you're not, you suck at communication, you suck at negotiating, or you're not going to, like just keep me in the loop. That's all I ask. It works pretty good. We got a deal locked up. I sent one in Washington, but on the other side of the mountains near Spokane. There's a deal like last week. It was SEO lead. She's asking $55K for it. As is values like 120, rent ready. ARV is like 160 plus. So
yeah, that's massive. So for those deals, are you and in general too, I know you said you are funding some of them as well, but how are you kind of organizing it in terms of the split and in terms of like how you're, like what's kind of the pitch to people in terms of, if you are going out there using DealMachine, finding deals, doing all this, you're doing the lead gen side, but don't have the money to fund it. Like what's like the ideal partnership there you think to set up?
So a lot of these ones that we're wholesaling, there's not a lot of money involved whatsoever. But I do a 50-50 split on like all assignments. Like if I send you a lead, so obviously this is going to work better for certain people. I'm looking for people that can close deals, but aren't at capacity. Because if they're too busy for their own leads, they're going to be too busy for mine. I'm like, I don't care how good you are. I could even train you. I could, give you my Audible login so you could check out Never Split the Difference. So, give you I'll spend a couple hours teaching you how to close, as long as I can tell that you're trustworthy, you're a hard worker, and you're going to hustle and have good communication. So like, the guy that we closed the deal the other day, he hadn't closed his first deal. This was like 3 years ago. I gave him my Craigslist ad. He got his first deal from Craigslist. Like he actually bought a house from me recently that he's living in. The year before, we bought a house in Idaho together that we wholesaleed, and then he wants to buy this one and actually keep it as a rental. So he's just going to pay me, half of what we approximate what we would have assigned it for.
Yep.
So.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a lot of it. And I feel like a lot of real estate as well comes down to, it's not rocket science. It's not, it can be simple in a lot of ways, but isn't necessarily easy. So it's putting in the work, like you said. It's being genuine about building relationships. It's following up on what you say you're going to do. It's putting in hustle, all of that. So
yeah.
Awesome. So this has been phenomenal. I know. Let's see here, Keith. I think I'll have one last call for questions here. I know Brandon just jumped in and said, "Where can we find you?" So, if you have anything on how people can follow up with you, connect with you, I'll hang around here for a minute for anybody who's got a last question here for you too. But really, really appreciate your time today, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook. You could send me an email, keith@kindhousebuyers.com, Instagram. Usually Facebook Messenger is probably the best bet.
Cool. Easy. Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like there's anything else rolling in here. I know I've, on my end, I got a lot out of this too. I really appreciate you breaking down, especially on the marketing side, all the things that you're doing currently. And we're trying to educate people all the time too on what our most successful DealMachine members are doing to really land that first deal and scale beyond that. So I'm always tweaking that playbook, and appreciate you being upfront on all this stuff. But in general, they can tell how you take that real genuine attitude of trying to help people, and you're helping our community too. So appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Yeah. There's no shortage of ways to make money and get leads out there. You just got to be a little creative and make your stuff a little bit better. You don't have to be the best of the best. You just got to be better than the guy in front of you. So the bar's not super high and it's not out of reach. And, I was just some idiot white, kid from a trailer park, and I'm doing it. So if I could do it, you can.
It's awesome, man. Well, appreciate the time, and to everyone else watching this, get out there and happy deal finding.
Okay.